Now, just for a moment, let's suppose that you were God. Yes, God. Imagine that you have all of time and eternity at your disposal, and unlimited power to shape it as you please. Every possible existence, every imaginable experience is yours to command. I wonder, what would you do with that kind of freedom? What's the first thing you'd create for yourself? Perhaps, being God, you'd start with your deepest desires. All the joys and pleasures you've ever longed for would be instantly yours, with no effort at all. Nothing out of reach, nothing forbidden. Just pure, unending bliss, entirely on your terms. You could dream up a perfect paradise in the blink of an eye. You might have feasts fit for the gods, endless banquets with nectar and ambrosia flowing freely. You could indulge in entrancing love affairs with ideal partners drawn straight out of your imagination. Adventures? Of course. You'd journey across magical worlds of your own design. You'd listen to music so celestial and beautiful it sends shivers down your spine, and see colors and landscapes beyond anything a mortal mind could dream up. It's all there, and it's all for you. Because you're the author of every bit of it. Night after night, you revel in the ecstasy of your own creation. Every wish is granted the instant it arises. Every thrill comes at your command. The pleasures are so intense, the joys so profound, that nothing in an ordinary life could compare. It feels like heaven, your very own personal heaven, where you are the absolute ruler of reality. But then, after countless nights of this perfect paradise, something strange begins to happen. A faint restlessness starts to stir inside you. An unexpected feeling slowly creeps in and grows with each perfectly predictable day. It's boredom. Imagine that. Even paradise can become, well, a little dull when there are no surprises left. When every wish is effortlessly fulfilled and every adventure is plotted out before it begins, it all starts to feel routine. The shine of heavenly perfection begins to fade. You find yourself yearning for something unexpected, something that isn't already under your complete control. So what do? You decide to spice things up a bit. You introduce a little uncertainty, a little risk into your dreams, just enough to make your heart beat faster. After all, you realize that without the element of the unknown, even omnipotence can feel empty. Without a touch of mystery or challenge, there is no real adventure at all. So you dream up adventure. This time, you don't just lounge around in golden palaces, being fed grapes and honey. No, this time you cast yourself as a hero on a quest. Suddenly, there are challenges to overcome and threats to face. You give yourself danger and suspense, obstacles that truly test your wits and your courage. Maybe in one dream, you're slaying dragons to save an entire village from destruction. You can feel the heat of the dragon's breath and the adrenaline pounding in your veins as you risk your life to protect others. In another dream, you're an explorer braving uncharted lands, not knowing what wonders or terrors lie beyond the next mountain. And for the first time in your existence, you feel genuine excitement, because now there is actually something at stake. For a while, that absolutely satisfies you. The rush of being a hero, of flirting with danger and coming out triumphant, adds the flavor you crave. You bask in the glory of it. Your heart races with the thrill. But as the novelty wears off, you start to notice something. Even these grand adventures follow a kind of script when you're the one writing them. Deep down, you always know you'll win in the end, because after all, you're still secretly in control of every detail. So you raise the stakes further. You set up even more outrageous challenges for yourself, bring in deeper uncertainty. You relinquish just a little more control, so that the outcome isn't always a foregone conclusion. You let the dragons grow bigger, the labyrinths more twisted, the battles more brutal. Anything to get back that edge of the seat feeling of uncertainty again. Finally, you dare yourself to take the ultimate risk. You decide to truly not know what's coming next. You say to yourself, "All right, tonight I'm going to dream a dream, and I won't know it's a dream." You effectively blindfold your own omniscience to see what happens when you stumble around in the dark with no spoilers. In this dream, suddenly everything feels real. You have no memory that it's all your own creation. You've completely forgotten that nothing can truly hurt you. You give yourself over to the illusion entirely, and so when danger comes, you feel actual fear clawing at your heart. When loss strikes, you weep as if the pain might last forever. When you fall in love, you love with a desperate vulnerability, as if you could truly lose that love. For the first time, it's all real to you. And what a shock, when after this intense dream, you finally wake up. You open your eyes, still trembling from the terror or heartache you just experienced. And for a moment, you don't even remember who or where you are. Then it hits you. It was just a dream. Perhaps you even laugh out loud in sheer relief. All that danger and all that suffering, and yet you are here, safe and sound. Hard to believe that just moments ago, you were utterly convinced every bit of it was real. You lie there, catching your breath, amazed at what you just put yourself through. But you've discovered something precious, the thrill of true uncertainty, and the blissful relief of making it through. For the first time in eons, you feel genuinely alive, precisely because, for a little while, you forgot who you really were. Naturally, being the adventurous spirit that you are, you decide to dive even deeper into this experience. If one night of not knowing was that exhilarating, why not push it further? So, night after night, you craft increasingly elaborate dreams in which you abandon all knowledge of your godly self. You live entire lifetimes within these dreams, with every tiny detail filled in. Whole decades pass in these imagined worlds where you have absolutely no idea that you are the one weaving the story. And in these dreams, oh, do you experience the extremes. You reach heights of joy you never knew before, because now joy has to be earned against the odds. You also plunge into depths of suffering you never thought you could endure, because now pain feels real and overwhelming. You explore every extreme. In one dream, you're living in opulence and power. In another, you're a beggar starving on the streets. You feel the ecstasy of first love and the agony of heartbreaking loss. You taste victory and defeat, bravery and despair. Every flavor of existence, you sample it as if it were all absolutely real. Time after time, when each dream life ends, you wake up and watch it all dissolve like fog in the morning sun. No matter how dark or painful the dream was, it doesn't leave so much as a scratch on the real you. Each time, you emerge exactly as you've always been, the infinite, untouched self, safe and sound, outside the dream, maybe even looking back on it with a hint of cosmic amusement. The nightmares were horrifying while they lasted, yes, but they were never truly real. They were just a show, your own divine play. So then, let me ask you directly, how do you know that this isn't exactly what you're doing right now? Think about it. This life you're living at this very moment, with all its thrills and all its trials, all its ups and downs. What if it's just one more of those dreams? What if right now, you are that all-powerful being, dreaming so convincingly that you've completely forgotten who you really are? I know this idea sounds absurd at first. Maybe it even strikes you as arrogant or just plain crazy. Your rational mind is probably kicking and screaming in protest. You feel the solidness of the world around you, the weight of your responsibilities, the sting of your past hurts, and you think, no, no, this has to be real. I can't be dreaming all this. My struggles, my pain, my plans, they matter. Well, of course they matter, while you're in the dream. A dream feels real when you're in the middle of it. Haven't you ever woken up from a nightmare with your heart pounding, grateful beyond words that it wasn't true? Or woken from a beautiful dream with an ache of loss because it ended? While it's happening, a dream is utterly convincing. Only when you wake up do you see it for what it was. So I'll ask again, what if some part of you is already awake, quietly watching this life the way you'd watch a vivid dream? What if the real you, the greater you, is gently trying to nudge you into remembering what's really going on? Maybe you've noticed little hints, moments of déjà vu, odd coincidences, a weird feeling that things are just playing out somehow, like whispers from the part of you that knows this is all a kind of game. What if you are so much more than this flesh and blood character you think you are? What if you are the dreamer, not just the dream? Consider for a moment the possibility that you are essentially the only player there is, that you've been playing every character all along, a single vast consciousness that is even now imagining itself to be you, and imagining itself to be everyone else as well. In the ancient wisdom of India, they actually have a name for this cosmic game. They call it Lila, the divine play. It is said that Brahman, which is to say the ultimate reality, plays every part in existence. In other words, the one self, the true God, is playing hide and seek with itself, through every person, every creature, every thought, and every experience there is. Think about it. If you're truly the only being, God, and nothing exists outside of you, what would you do to avoid being terribly alone? You'd play a game with yourself, of course. You would split yourself into a myriad of pieces. You'd pretend that you aren't you. You'd become literally everyone and everything, just so you could have others to talk to adventure with, to love and to quarrel against. You'd cast yourself in all the roles, hero and villain, king and beggar, lover and enemy, master and servant, and each life you enter, you put on a different mask, and you wear it so well that you completely forget the face behind it. And in this grand game, you, the one, have indeed been through every possible experience. You've been the child and the old man, the prince and the pauper. You've known every joy and every sorrow, because it's all you, playing out every part of your own cosmic drama. You've wandered so far from yourself that you honestly believe you're just a poor little me, a tiny separate creature born to suffer for a short while and then die. But that, you see, is part of the thrill. The deeper the illusion goes, the more powerful the moment of awakening when you finally see through it. You get yourself so lost in these far-out adventures, some of them unimaginably beautiful, others unspeakably horrific, that eventually, in each storyline, something in you begins to stir and seek the way back home. And sooner or later, no matter how deep the dream, you do find your way back. The game of hide and seek doesn't go on forever. Eventually the seeker finds what was hiding. Because in the end, the dreamer always wakes up. The play eventually comes to a close. The actors step off the stage, the masks come off, and the only one self remains, finally remembering who and what it really is. Sometimes that moment of awakening comes at the very end of a life, at the moment of death, the instant the curtain falls. Perhaps at that moment, you recall, with a kind of cosmic chuckle, that it was all one big act, one elaborate dream. But here is the thing, the awakening doesn't have to wait until the end. It's possible, just possible, to wake up right now, in the midst of the dream. To realize, while the story is still unfolding, that you are both the storyteller and the hero. You know, I often put it like this: when you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up, not a moment sooner. Until you're ready, you'll continue to play your part in the dream. You'll keep pretending that you're just this isolated, powerless little being at the mercy of forces outside yourself. You'll stay lost in your character, convinced that all you are is this fragile body and this personal history. You'll insist that the dream is all there is, until that day comes when something in you finally says, "Okay, I've had enough," and decides to open your eyes. So, ask yourself plainly, are you ready to wake up? Or does the comfort of your familiar story still have its hooks in you? Be honest. It's all right if you feel hesitant. Waking up is the biggest leap there is. It's completely understandable to be afraid. The ego, that little me you take yourself to be, clings desperately to its identity. It doesn't want to let go. To the ego, waking up feels like dying, because in a sense it is a kind of death. It's the death of the illusion, the end of that little narrative you've been telling yourself all your life. And when that illusion does start to shatter, it can be terrifying. The small self doesn't want to vanish. Even if that self is full of pain and limitations, it's your pain and your limitations. And losing it feels like losing who you are. Better the devil you know than the great unknown beyond, right? That's how it is for most people, whether they say it out loud or not. So most people shrink from this truth. They'll do anything to avoid questioning the reality of their lives too deeply. They'll distract themselves endlessly or cling tighter to their beliefs and routines, all to avoid even the possibility that things might not be what they seem. They stick to their identities and their stories, even if those stories make them suffer, because at least the story is familiar. At least it feels solid, like firm ground under their feet. They'll choose a familiar misery over an unfamiliar freedom. Many would rather blame fate or blame other people, or even blame God, than consider the idea that they might be the ones secretly pulling the strings. The responsibility of being the dreamer, the one in charge, just seems too immense, too shocking to accept, and so they stay asleep. Most people will live out their days and die, never suspecting that they were, all along, exactly what they were seeking. But then there is you, and I have a hunch that you are not like most people. Most folks would have tuned out of a talk like this long ago, too uneasy, or too bored, or too skeptical to continue. But you're still here. You've listened this far, and that tells me something important. It tells me that some part of you is already starting to stir from the dream. You haven't come all this way just to slip back into unawareness, have you? Something in you hungers for the truth, no matter how unsettling it might be. Something in you is daring to peek behind the curtain of this reality. Maybe you can't fully explain it, but you feel it. That pull towards something real, something vast, something undeniable. And with that yearning for truth comes a certain power. Yes, this insight can be unsettling. It might turn your whole world upside down for a while. But it's also profoundly liberating. It means that nothing in your life has ever been just random, meaningless suffering. Every joy and every sorrow, every victory and every defeat had its place in the grand play, and none of it has ever truly been able to hurt the real you. How could it? The real you is the one dreaming it all up. All of it, the triumphs and the tragedies, the loves and the losses, has always been you, expressing yourself in different forms. You have been the hero and the villain, the giver and the taker, the victor and the victim. You've worn every mask in this divine play, without ever ceasing to be the one who is playing all the parts. Recognizing that, daunting as it may be, casts your whole life in a completely new light. And if you truly get this, even for an instant, you'll feel a great weight lift off your shoulders. You'll realize that you were never really trapped at all. The walls that felt like a prison were made of smoke and shadows, dream stuff, nothing more. In reality, you are free. You always have been. The real you cannot be harmed by any of these experiences, or confined by any circumstance, because it's the author of every circumstance. It's the dreamer, utterly untouched by the dream. Now having seen a glimpse of the game for what it is, the question becomes, what will you do with this insight? How will you play it, knowing what you know now? Will you pretend you never heard any of this? Will you dismiss it as just an interesting little thought experiment and hurry back to the comfort of normal life? Will you hit the snooze button, roll over, and choose to forget it all, deciding you're not ready to wake up just yet? Or will you choose to live differently now? Will you live with the kind of daring and freedom that comes from understanding that at the deepest level, you cannot truly fail or lose? Will you face life's ups and downs with the courage born from knowing it's all part of a grand play, and that you, in your essence, are beyond harm? Don't let this just be an intriguing story that you listen to and then forget. Don't let the ego scurry off and find some new excuse to put the soul aside. Do something with this realization, even if it's as simple as pausing right now to really examine your life with fresh eyes. But here is the truth. If you just stay still and do nothing with it, you'll lull yourself back to sleep. And if you fall back to sleep, well, you already know what awaits you. The same old life on autopilot. Before we close, I'd like to invite you to try a little experiment. See if you can articulate, maybe just to yourself, maybe on paper, in one simple sentence, the moment you stopped lying to yourself. Not a reaction, not a slogan or some platitude, but one brutally honest line that marks the point when you finally said, enough, no more illusions. If you can name that moment, even just for yourself, it has power. And if anything I've said here today has struck a deep chord in you, then I encourage you, hold on to that feeling. Let it remind you that your journey is really just beginning. This exploration we're on, this journey of waking up to your true self, is the greatest adventure there is, and it's far from over. As long as you hunger for the truth, you'll find yourself drawn back to it, again and again. I, for one, will keep on delving into these mysteries, and I suspect you will too, because something in you clearly thirsts for this kind of understanding. So go now, live your life awake within the dream, and when you're ready for more, when you feel ready to dive back into the great mystery, come back. I'll be right here, as I always am, on the edge of the dream, where it all begins.